everyone. It's great to be here with you today. I wonder if there is a slight sound problem, which I'm sure we will fix any minute. I'm Maria Chandragani. I am the UCU president-elect and also have the honor of chairing the Higher Education Committee, as well as the New Agencies negotiating team. I'd like to talk from the heart today, launching this new campaign for higher education, for a fully funded higher education in order to stop the cuts. Certainly, I hope that there will be an opportunity to hear from higher education officers soon with our own words, and also to have a branch delegate meeting where we will be able to have an open discussion about the crisis that higher education is facing at the moment because of the failure of the current funding model. Certainly, we do hope to influence the policy by the Labour government because we believe that education is the solution in the very troubling times we are all experiencing. I ought to highlight that a number of branches either had the recently very successful ballots or are in the process of balloting because jobs and terms and conditions are under attack. I should mention Brunel, Cardiff, Dundee, Durham, Kent, Newcastle, Sheffield Hallam, Sheffield International, University of East Anglia, Birmingham City, Sheffield International, all defending, as we speak, members, jobs, and terms and conditions. Maybe I should also mention that I welcome the decision by the Scottish Government to fund the increased DPS contributions by employers, and certainly to highlight that attempts by isolated employers to test the water and change pension arrangements for members will not go without a strong response from UCU. We are watching you and we are supporting post-92s in every way we can. The international political scene is not to be ignored. Certainly, we have Trump in power, we have an attack on equalities. UCU is at the forefront of supporting all members and ensuring that equalities are at the heart of everything we do. And of course, we see an uncertain political environment. You see the discussions about Ukraine between USA and Russia without Ukraine. And there is only one answer to all this. The answer can only be to defend education and, in particular, to offer opportunities for higher education to everyone, including our working class students, including everyone across the 4 nations. This is the reason we need to change the current funding model for HE. This is the reason we need to ensure that branches facing attacks are properly supported. This is the reason we need a robust political and industrial campaign to support higher education, to support migrant students, to support migrant staff, to support everyone under the equality umbrella, to ensure, after all, that education provides an opportunity to improve the economy of this country. So we will fight for a fully funded education with all our might. We will fight to stop the cuts with all our might. And this campaign is both timely and absolutely urgent and necessary. I will hope that we will have the opportunity to discuss, to hear your questions and comments and respond to them very soon. But in the meantime, I can only pass the floor to Yutunda, our head of campaigns and communications, who will talk further about this new campaign. Thank you ever so much. Solidarity to all, always available for you. And where there are picket lines, you will see me there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria, and thank you to everyone for joining us. I'm now going to talk a little bit about the upcoming Stop the Cuts campaign, which will launch on Monday, the 3rd of March. And I'll talk a bit about the key dates to note for your diaries between now and UCU Annual Congress, where, of course, UCU policies are decided towards the end of every May in each year. I'll also be talking about the activities that you as members can participate in and the campaign resources that will be made available to you to support this ongoing fight against the crisis in HE. Further updates around planned campaign activity after UCU Congress in May up until the end of the year will follow. And if you have any questions or queries at any point, please do send an email to campaigns@ucu.org.uk. and the team will be more than happy to help. Firstly, I just want to follow on from Maria's really powerful words just now. And we all know that the scale of the challenge that's facing HE is immense. We now have 1 in 2 universities that are proposing cuts to jobs affecting courses and departments. And there are estimations and projections that this will involve potentially 10,000 jobs being lost by the end of this year. As a union, we are more than capable of deterring university leaders and preventing any kind of plans to change HE beyond recognition. And this campaign is very much about making sure that we are supporting you all in doing that. We already know that there is intensive support that continues to be provided to individual branches to help them push back against cuts, launch counter campaigns, force university management to remove the threat of redundancies. And we are seeing ballots being won and some redundancies already being scaled back. Last year, branches such as Aberdeen, Goldsmiths, Northumbria, University of Central Lancashire, all successfully resisted job cuts. And this is about making sure that we can make sure that every branch has everything they need to continue this important work. So if we can look at the first slide. So firstly, I want to sort of talk a bit more about what does the sector actually need. As a union, we believe that in order to limit the impact of the HE crisis, we urgently need to see an end to the broken fee-based funding model. It isn't working for institutions, staff, or students. Our own UCU research has shown that 81% of students are concerned about the cost of higher education, 84% believe students should pay less, and 87% of students want the government to provide emergency funding to universities at financial risk. So that's really clear from students. It's also widely known that a high percentage of students never actually pay back their tuition fees in full. And research from the Institute of Fiscal Studies has shown that the Treasury still loses money on every student loan, even if they are paid back in full. So across the board, this current funding model does not work. Labour needs to have the courage to pull the plug on this funding model and fully fund higher education. We also want to see, as a union, the introduction of measures to stop unhealthy competition across the higher education landscape, including student number controls, in order to reduce the volatility of annual budgets and the use of unstable employment models and contracts in response to fluctuating student numbers. We also want to see the introduction of a governance review across higher education. You may have all recently seen that we had a Q&A session with the Skills Minister, Jackie Smith. And during this session, she kind of made it really clear that Labour does understand that a lack of governance has created significant problems across the sector. If we have government structures, they will provide the much needed monitoring of university management that is right now essentially non-existent. Because it's non-existent, it paves the way for reckless mismanagement that goes unchecked. And we need proper governance as part of the solution to rescue universities from this crisis. We also want to see an end to the hostile environment policies that have sought to make the UK a much less welcoming place and more difficult place to study for international students. We'll now move to the next slide. So why this campaign? In order to achieve an overhaul of the HE sector that we believe is urgently needed, the Stop the Cuts campaign will aim to put pressure on the Labour government in Westminster to change their current position and ensure that they urgently invest and intervene to prevent further damage to the sector, whilst providing support to other regions across the country in pursuit of different regional interventions. This is especially important when we see Vice-Chancellors being rewarded for financial mismanagement, as is the case at Coventry University, and it's especially important in light of the recent announcement from the Welsh Government that 19 million will be provided to support the higher education sector across Wales. The Labour government in Westminster must now look at the action that the Welsh Government is taking and follow suit urgently. When we look at the situation in Northern Ireland, where government funding is already provided, yet financial mismanagement and misplaced priorities amongst HE institutions still occurs or can still occur, this forms part of the need for the urgent intervention and improved governance across the sector as a whole that, as a union, we believe we need to see. If we can move to the next slide. So I'm going to talk a bit more about just a selection of the key campaign elements. To make it really clear, there will be a very wide range of tactics and activities that will form part of this campaign, and they'll all be aimed at supporting UCU branches and members in their ongoing fight to protect jobs, as well as raising awareness of the devastating situation and the consequences of inaction, as well as the blame that the government must share if they fail to act urgently to invest and intervene. So some of the things that we will ensure are part of this campaign to support UCU members in their daily fight include the launch of a Stop the Cuts petition going live during campaign launch on the 3rd of March. We're going to hope to call for signatures from local residents, supporters, students and staff with the aim to secure 10,000 signatures in order to trigger a parliamentary debate on this issue. The petition, please, should be widely promoted by branches and reps and use as a mechanism to raise awareness and keep conversations going across local communities. We are also going to be holding a UCU rally and parliamentary lobby that will be taking place on the 18th of March. Details of this should be shared with all members very shortly. And we are hoping that this will enable reps and members to speak to local MPs that are in attendance at the lobby and request direct support and local intervention to put a stop to job loss plans across institutions. This does provide an opportunity for branch reps and members to share their experience and the scale of the problems with a number of local MPs that will be there to help push this issue to the top of their list. There'll also be a series of evidence gathering, including analytical research, reviews of relevant existing data, and new polls and surveys to gather UCU member, student and general public views about the overall state of the sector. Really important to gather staff experiences and difficulties, solutions to prevent further damage to the sector, as well as student experiences and difficulties, and views on Vice-Chancellor pay and more. All of this will be aimed at demonstrating widespread support for investment and intervention to decision makers across Westminster and within individual institutions, and it will form part of the lobbying of the Labour government to push for a better deal for working people across the sector that sees an end to the fire and rehire practices and improve job security and employment contract terms. You all have a really critical role to play as part of this evidence gathering over the coming months, as an understanding of the devastating impact upon all of you as UCU members about what is happening across the sector on the ground will be very crucial for increasing support for what UCU is calling for. There will also be a programme of fighting redundancies online briefings for branches and members starting next month in March. These sessions will focus on a range of topics, including stopping redundancies, reforming governance, building solidarity, alternative funding models, saving arts and humanities, and fire and rehire practices. These online briefings will support all branches and members that are at risk of job losses to explore tactics in support of their daily fight, ranging from up-to-date legal guidance on ways to fight redundancies, materials and guides to arrange local rallies, templates to produce digital and print adverts in local publications, templates for distribution to HE staff and local residents to write demand letters to university leaders, and reviews of recent wins in the fight against redundancies in order for branches and members to perhaps replicate tactics that have been seen where they've helped branches like Aberdeen and Goldsmith. There will also be the launch of a Stop the Cuts member network, also next month in March, which will provide an opportunity for all members to attend online meetups and briefings in order to share information and experiences, ask for advice and opinions amongst peers, raise questions and queries, hear about success stories in the fight against cuts, and listen to talks from invited guests. So all members are encouraged to support, whether you're at risk of job cuts right now or you are really just wanting to show support to other branches. We will also have the launch of Stop the Cuts Week of Action. That will be from the end of March on the 31st. And this will provide an opportunity for every single branch across all regions, ranging from those directly impacted by cuts, those at risk, and those not currently facing any risk of cuts, to help raise awareness amongst local communities and local decision makers and encourage more people to sign the Stop the Cuts petition. There will also be opportunity to arrange photo and filming opportunities, arrange local events and rallies, and share content on social media platforms. And lastly, there'll also be promotional materials. We will make sure that there are posters and flyers that will be available for download on the UCU website. There'll also be a bespoke service to enable branches to request edited materials ranging from placards, special edition posters and flyers, I should say, and we can ensure that those also display brief local information that will be relevant to local areas and different regions upon request, so that can again also support the arrangement of local rallies, industrial action and events. It would be really great to see the flyers handed out at every opportunity, branch social media profiles showing the Stop the Cuts artwork, and posters being displayed in the local areas across branches, from offices, corridors, classrooms, kitchens, communal spaces, wherever it looks like we can get away with having the presence of some of these posters. This campaign can only really be visible to a wider range of stakeholders with the power of every branch behind it. So I have kind of whistled through quite a few things as part of this campaign, and I hope that the information I've shared with you today has provided a useful overview of what branches and members can expect. If we can move to the next slide, I'm happy for us to hold the next slide page, because there will be some information about key campaign dates for your diaries. So happy to keep this screen held for a while so that maybe you can make some notes, but please know that we will be having regular member emails and updates with much more information. So again, I do hope that what I've shared with you today has provided a useful overview of what branches and members can expect as part of the Stop the Cuts campaign, between the launch on the 3rd of March and up until Congress in May. And of course, there will be further updates around planned activity after Congress in May, right through to the end of the year, and those will follow. So I'd say again, if you have any questions or queries, please do send an email to campaigns@ucu.org and the team will be more than happy to help. I'm happy to keep this screen held, but that is pretty much all from me. I just want to thank you all again for joining us. And again, just really highlight that we'd love you to look out for further updates over the coming weeks and months. And of course, to express heartfelt solidarity to all of you. Happy to keep that screen held. Thank you again for joining. Maria, I don't know if you'd want to say a few words to close out. That would be great if you're happy to.
Thank you very much, Yetunde, for this. And I think it is very important to know that branches are not on your own fighting redundancies or attacks in terms and conditions at the moment. Certainly, the whole union has your back, and certainly the Higher Education Committee throughout 24, as well as the special sector conference we had last May, ensured that decisions were made for branches not to be on their own in this. So I hope that we can all do our thing to support this campaign, to ensure that a fully funded higher education is achieved, and that cuts in higher education stop at this point. We do have a short window to influence the Labour government policy. Let's do this all together in one voice. Thank you all for being here today, sending heartfelt solidarity, and always with you, always at your disposal. Please, please do get in touch and engage for further meetings which will take place. Take lots and lots of care. Thank you.